Alright, well, I have a unique opportunity today because I have the house to myself. So I thought maybe I'd try to put together some kind of a, I'm going to do basically sort of a superset arm routine. Really, yeah, there's not a whole lot of variation in the curl movement itself, other than isolating more, or or the difference between a dumbbell and unilateral movements, and a straight bar and a bilateral. I've always felt like, for definition, even for size and definition, that that isolation is critical. I mean, it's critical. You've got to do, I suppose, you've got to do your core movements, like, say, the barbell curl with either the cambered bar or the straight bar, or whatever you happen to be using on a preacher curl, or with one of those bicep blasters, or just standing, or with the dumbbells, maybe seated. All those variations, and you have to do really the core, to facilitate size and definition, but the intensity and the growth really comes from the isolation. So that's probably the most important aspect of trying to build quality muscle, is, yes, to do your core movements for your size, I suppose, and again, you can do a straight bar curl a number of different ways. You can do the lightweight, high rep type of routine. You can do, progressively heavier, moderately heavy routines that fall more in a strict range of, say, 8 to 12, 8 to 15 reps. Or you can go the heavy way and lift an enormous amount of weight, more than 80% of your 1 rep max, for whatever you manage to do, 3 to 6 reps. But although that has a place in, bodybuilding, I suppose. I mean, it does have a place, heavy lifting at times. It is not the foundation, and if you choose to lift that way, on a regular basis, what you'll end up with is enormous bulk, not necessarily quality bulk, and you will probably have more strength than, say, somebody who's more focused on bodybuilding as opposed to powerlifting, which is really what high-end lifting is. But you will not be satisfied in terms of necessarily balance or definition, symmetry, striations. I mean, of course, that all is primarily diet. But point being, if you lift heavy consistently, you will gain size, but you'll end up consuming more calories, and you'll sacrifice definition for just sheer bulk. If that's what you're about, then lift away. But for what I am trying to do, and what I have been doing, and I think what I've been demonstrating, the straightest path to real quality shape, size, and definition is through a combination of all of these types of routines done, in a way that doesn't allow your body to become accustomed to one particular kind of stress. You've got at least two different types of muscle fibers: the fast and the slow twitch. But there are also other fibers in there, called, well, I've been told, called survival fibers, ones that you would only use under situations of extreme stress, and the only way to develop all of that, or to develop all of those muscle fibers to their fullest potential is to really to expose them to the types of things that facilitate growth for that type of muscle. And so using a combination of, say, progressive resistance and weightlifting, done with varying levels of intensity and varying volumes in terms of the overall composition of sets and reps, in a given routine, but also in the manner in which they're conducted, that helps to bring about the kind of overall balanced growth of lean muscle tissue that will enable you to inevitably diet down to a quality muscular physique, if that's what you're after. And to women who I don't ever seem to speak specifically to, although I have, for the ones that actually watch these videos, you can lift like a man. I don't look at the majority of men that you see in a gym at any given time, though, and emulate their routines, because unless they look the way they should look for what they're trying to accomplish, then I wouldn't pay any attention to what they're doing. Do your own research, or watch some of my videos. I think, I don't really know if I've gone into intricate detail about how to set up a routine, or how to develop, say, a series, or an enormous collection of exercises that you do, in your routines as you cycle through your entire body to help develop muscle, because it's all about balance. It's about balance. So if all you're doing is your chest and your biceps, then you're going to have a huge chest and enormous biceps, and these spindly legs that are going to really make you look overall, from an overall perspective, just ridiculously silly. So if you are about appearance, if your lifting is not about athletics, specifically like a sport, or it's not about I don't know what else it would be for. For most people, it's a life, or a way of life, or an occupation, and others it's just a hobby. So it depends on what you're trying to do. But if you're not lifting, and you're not attempting to build muscle, then your program is lacking. And for the women, you can go into a gym and do intense weightlifting routines and not come out of there at any point looking like me. You might develop muscularity, and I hesitate to even use that word, because you think of muscularity, you think like this type, but I'm talking about toned muscles, okay, not about enormous well-defined muscles necessarily, just enough lean muscle mass to have firm tone, and if possible, balanced shape. You think of traditionally, I suppose the ideal is the hourglass, but the hourglass is unrealistic, because there are all kinds of different bodies, and each one of those develops in its own way. You can fight the restrictions nature and genetics have put on you, and you might be able to overcome some of those, depending on like I said, what kind of look you're going for. But all the best that you can do is to just make sure that you focus on your entire, all of your muscle groups, your entire body, So, you know, you will be doing calf raises, and you will be doing, well, you know, you can go as detailed as working your forearms and that type of thing too, but if you're doing a lot of unilateral dumbbell related work, you know, in all of that gripping and exercising, I mean, you know, you're taxing your forearms. I've really never done focused forearm exercises, but I'm not at all dissatisfied with the way my forearms look, and I don't feel as though I need to, you know, suddenly now start isolating and, you know, working that one particular muscle group to develop it anymore. So my point is all of the major muscle groups, you know, that being, if we start at the top and work our way down, your shoulders, which includes your traps, and your rhomboids, which is right back here, your chest, your back, your abdominal region, and that is, you know, really your obliques and your rectus wall here, so all of the abdominals, including the sides. And when I talk about the back, you know, you've got your trapezius muscles again, and your latissimus, serratus. You know, so there's a lot of other smaller aspects of the larger muscle group to consider, and this all comes with the isolation. But also you've got your legs, which would be, you know, broken down into the quadricep area in the front and the hamstrings in the back, and then of course your calves, which is the anyway. I'm going to try and put together a relatively simple, straightforward arm routine today, because I haven't really been lifting consistently lately. You know, I just kind of let go of the whole idea of competing this year because there are various things going on that preclude being able to commit that kind of time and energy right now. And so there may be something in November. I think there's a show in November that's close enough, and it might be something I might check into, just to kind of, you know, say I did something this year anyway. So let me put together this routine, and then we get started and see. And I'll show you what one of the things I do to help build my arms.